So in this video, we're going to work on topic 8.3, which is using accumulation functions and definite integrals in applied contexts. And what we're going to be able to do is we're going to say, I can interpret the meaning of a definite integral in accumulation problems, and I can determine net change using definite integrals in an applied context. So they give us a table, and this was actually a free response question for both AB and BC in 2010. It was number 2. Which does mean it is a calculator problem. So we've got a zoo sponsored a one-day contest to name a new baby elephant. Zoo visitors deposited entries in a special box between t = 0 and which was noon, and 8 p.m., which was time = 8. The number of entries in the box t hours after noon is modeled by the differentiable function e, which you notice is modeled in the table. For between 0 and 8. Values of E of t in hundreds of entries, notice it's in hundreds of entries, at various times t are shown in the table above. So we are supposed to use the data in the table above to approximate the rate in the hundreds of entries per hour at which the entries were deposited at time t = 6. Show the computations that lead to your answer. So in this type of problem, look, it's a table problem. We're supposed to use the table in the table to approximate a rate. This means we are calculating the slope with the slope formula. So the notation we would use is we would use e prime of 6 is approximately equal to, so I'm going to go to my table. I notice 6 would be between 5 and 7. So those are the values that I wanted to use. So what I really need to find is e of 7 minus e of 5 over 7 minus 5, which in the table, my e of 7 is 21, and my e of 5 is 13, and then 7 minus 5 is 2. So I have 21 minus 13 is 8 over 2, which means I've got 4, but my label, notice, this was I underlined it, hundreds of entries per hour. So that's what we would write. So we would write it's 400 entries per hour. All right, let's take a look at part B. So part B says use a trapezoidal sum with 4 subintervals given by the table to approximate the value of 1 over 8 from 0 to 8, interesting, e of t dt. Using correct units, explain the meaning of this in the terms of number of entries. All right, so let's first of all do the calculation. So I'm going to write out 1 over 8 from 0 to 8 of e of t dt. So we need to do a trapezoidal sum. I'm going to start with my 1/8 out front. And it said we were going from 0 to 8. So I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4 trapezoids. I'm going to erase this stuff in here. So I'm going to set up for 4 trapezoids. So 1, plus 1, 2, 3. Okay, we're going to divide them all by 2. We're going to have space to do 2 values, 2 bases. Okay, so my first distance in between is 2, and my heights are 0 and 4. So 2 would be here, and I go 0 and 4. My next distance in between is 3, and my heights are 4 and 13. My next distance in between, let me use a different color. My next distance in between is 2, and my heights are 13 and 21. And then my final distance in between is 1, and my heights are 21 and 23. All right. Now, technically, we would kind of be done at that point other than labeling it on the AP test. However, if we did go through and we did do this calculation, it ends up equaling 171 over 16, which is approximately, if I'd used my calculator on it, which it said I was allowed to use, 10.688 hundredths of entries per hour. All right, but no, we aren't done yet because it says using correct units explain the meaning. So we did this at the end of the last lesson. We talked about what does that mean. And whenever you have the 1 over, and look at this, this is really 1 over b minus a. So that's talking about average. So we would say this is the average. And then this is representing the entries or the number of entries. So it's the average number of entries that were in the box. And then we need a time, okay? The average number of entries that were in the box. And so our time is between 0 and 8, but in the context of the problem, 0 is representing noon and 8 is representing 8 p.m. So I want to put it back in that context. So in the box between noon and 8 p.m., and then we want to actually put the total was approximately, and then did it say using correct units? It didn't say a whole number, so you could say approximately 10.688 hundred.